And now on this Monday, August 30th, 1976, stand by for tape recording from WOR's Night Talk program.
This is Bob Maxwell on Night Talk. After our overview of American history and the White House saga, let's focus on the 19th century of America and one of the wonderful storytellers of that period, Mark Twain. In his stories, Twain buoyantly portrayed life of that period in such an appealing manner that it would almost be tempting to turn back the clock of time. Twain captured the vernacular of American speech and entertained us by his observations of life on the Mississippi. Twain worked, as you probably know, as a printer, journalist, river pilot, soldier, prospector, speculator, and then settled down to life as a journalist, which, of course, resulted in his great fame as a writer. On the following recording, the performer Will Geer takes to heart Twain's advice that his humorous stories ought to be told gravely, and the listener will soon realize there is a serious intent to many of his stories. Will Geer will introduce a story by Mark Twain, a Kedman release, TC 2064.
We flew along for a while, then slackened steam and went cautiously gliding toward the spark. Presently, Mr. Thornburg exclaimed, "Hello, the boy lantern's out." He stopped the engines. A moment or two later, he said, "Why, there it is again." So he came ahead on the engines once more and rang for the leads. Gradually, the water shoaled up and then began to deepen again. Mr. Thornburg muttered, "Well, I don't understand this. I believe the boy has drifted off the reef. Seems a little too far to the left. No matter, it's safest to run over it anyhow." So, in that solid world of darkness, we went creeping down on the light. Just as our bows were in the act of plowing over it, Mr. Thornburg seized the bell ropes, rang a startling peal, and exclaimed, "My soul! It's a sounding boat!" A sudden chorus of wild alarm burst out far below. A pause, and then a sound of grinding and crashing followed. Mr. Thornburg exclaimed, "There! The paddle wheel has ground the sounding boat! The lucifer matches! Run! See who is killed!" I was on the main deck in the twinkling of an eye. My chief and the third mate, nearly all the men were safe. They discovered their danger when it was too late to pull out of their way. Then, when the great guards overshadowed them a moment later, they were prepared and knew what to do. At my chief's order, they sprang at the right instant, seized the guard, and were hauled aboard. The next moment, the sounding yawl swept aft to the wheel and was struck and splintered to atoms. Two of the men and the cub Tom were missing, a fact which spread like wildfire over the boat. The passengers came flocking to the forward gangway, ladies and all, anxious-eyed, white-faced, and talked in awed voices of the dreadful thing. And often again I heard them say, "Poor fellow, poor boy, poor boy." By this time the boat's yawl was manned and away to search for the missing. Now a faint call was heard off to the left. The yawl had disappeared in the other direction. Half the people rushed to one side to encourage the swimmer with their shouts. The other half rushed to the other way to shriek to the yawl to turn about. By the callings, the swimmer was approaching, but some said the sound showed failing strength. The crowd massed themselves against the boiler deck railing, leaning over and staring in the gloom, and every faint and fainter cry wrung from them such words as, "Oh, poor fellow, is there no way to save him?" But still the cries held out and drew near, and presently the voice said, "Luckily, I can make it. Stand by with a rope." What a rousing cheer they gave him. The chief mate took his stand in the glare of a torch basket, a coil of rope in his hand, and his men grouped about him. The next moment, the swimmer's face appeared in the circle of light, and another one, the owner of it, was hauled aboard limp and drenched, while cheer on cheer went up. It was that devil, Tom. The yawl crew searched everywhere, but found no sign of the two men. They probably failed to catch the guard, tumbled back, and were struck by the wheel and killed. Tom had never jumped for the guard at all, but had plunged head first into the river and dived under the wheel. It was nothing. I could have done it easy enough. And I said so. But everybody went on just the same, making a wonderful to-do over that ass, as if he had done something great. That girl couldn't seem to have enough of that pitiful hero the rest of the trip. But little I cared. I loathed her anyway.
The Mark Twain story, Sounding, from Life on the Mississippi, read by Will Geer, a Kedman release, TC 2064.